Well, hi, fifth graders. Welcome back to Wit and Wisdom in Sync. I'm Miss Foley, and this is Module 1, Cultures in Conflict. We're on our way. Let's roll. You will need a few materials for today's lesson. You'll need your copy of Thunder Rolling in the Mountains. You'll need Assessment 26, Focusing Question Task 5. That's right. We are getting ready. Handout 18B, which is the evidence organizer, and you have one for both Chief Joseph and one for Sound of Running Feet. Your Wit and Wisdom in Sync journal, a pen or pencil, and optional colored pencils. If you need to pause the video now to retrieve these materials, please feel free to do so. So the essential question that got us started on this journey is, how do cultural beliefs and values guide people? And we've been looking very closely at two particular people, and those are Chief Joseph and his daughter, Sound of Running Feet. Do you realize all the work that you've done, gathering evidence, elaborating on it, and analyzing evidence, all to understand the beliefs and values that guide Chief Joseph and Sound of Running Feet, and to look at the ways they are alike and how they're different? Dun da da da! Well, you're now ready to take those ideas to start planning your essays for Focusing Question Task 5. So, let's take a look at this task together. All right. Let's take a look at Assessment 26, Focusing Question Task 5. Here it is. So I'd like you to make sure that you have your copy of Focusing Question Task 5, and you can read along with me. I'm going to go through it so that we're all clear on what the task is. I'm also going to highlight and maybe even make a few notes to myself about things that I want to remember to pay attention to. All right, let's see what we have here. Purpose. Again, you know how I like to know why we're doing things. This task will give you an opportunity to express your understanding of the focusing question. What important beliefs and values guide Chief Joseph and his daughter, Sound of Running Feet? As you finish reading the novel Thunder Rolling in the Mountains by Scott Odell and Elizabeth Hall. Writing about this topic and practicing your essay writing skills will help you prepare to write an essay for the end of module task. Introduction. Individuals, like cultures, define themselves by what they believe in and care most about. And over the past several weeks, you've traveled alongside Chief Joseph, his daughter Sound of Running Feet, and the Nez Perce tribe as they flee their homeland pursued by the U.S. Army in search of freedom and safety for their people. You've paid close attention to the narrator, Sound of Running Feet, and her father, Chief Joseph, to understand how their core beliefs and values are reflected in their thoughts, words, and actions in the story. What important beliefs and values do they share? How do their beliefs and values differ? How do their beliefs and values guide their actions and decisions in the novel? I'm going to pause just for a second here to highlight this because this is the question, right? Or actually this set of questions that we have to keep in the forefront as we're working. Also, remember this too, words, actions, thoughts. Those are good things to keep in mind as well, because any of those three provide good evidence. All right, your task, here it is. For an audience who has read and studied Thunder Rolling in the Mountains as you have, so look at who your audience is. It would be either classmates or other people who've been reading this text. Write an essay to compare and contrast Chief Joseph's and Sound of Running Feet's most important beliefs and values. We already know this, compare and contrast. That means we're going to show one way in which they're similar and one way in which they're different. In your essay, explain one important belief. Actually going to make a note here. One important belief or value that Chief Joseph and Sound of Running Feet share, and one important way in which their values and beliefs differ. and explain how these beliefs and values guide each character's actions in the novel. Develop your ideas with evidence from thunder rolling in the mountains, and I hope you feel really confident at this point because you've been very busy collecting evidence along the way. The success for criteria. Let's take a look here to make sure that you know what is supposed to be included. And this is really useful because you can refer back to it at any time, almost like a checklist. Okay, let's see. Your paragraph should include an introduction that includes or provides background or context. You're going to set your readers up to know where this story is taking place and kind of give an understanding of what's happening. A clear thesis that states a key similarity and a key difference between Chief Joseph and Sound of Running Feet's beliefs or values. 2 supporting paragraphs. One is a comparison, which means similarity, and one that develops a contrast or difference. In each supporting paragraph, evidence from thunder rolling in the mountain of the characters' shared or differing beliefs and values is going to be included. And, no surprise here, in each supporting paragraph, elaboration of the evidence to explain, and this is the key thing, explain how it shows a similarity or difference between the characters' beliefs or values and how these beliefs or values guide the characters' actions. Like really what drives them to do, think, and say what they do. You'll also include transitions within and between paragraphs to compare and contrast your ideas. A conclusion, remember the conclusion's job is to reinforce your thesis and add a special note about why it's significant. And as always, remember to stay focused on correct spelling, punctuation, and capitalization. Okay, are you ready to roll? Be sure to check in with your classroom teacher if you have any questions about these success criteria. We're actually going to get started on your essay. So exciting. Don't worry though, we're going to take it one step at a time. In this lesson, you're going to develop a thesis statement to express your essential idea. What beliefs and values do Chief Joseph and Sound of Running Feet share? And what values and beliefs do they have that differ? You probably already have some hashtag ideas. Do you remember the job of a thesis statement in an essay? Specifically, a comparison-contrast essay? So what is the job of a thesis statement in a comparison-contrast essay? Go ahead and share your ideas aloud, either with a learning partner or just yourself. All right, here you go. You can check your memory. A thesis in a comparison-contrast essay does the following. It identifies the subjects being compared and contrasted. It states an essential idea about how they are alike and different. And it includes 2 points, one about similarities and one about differences. How did you do? Awesome job if you remember the job of a thesis statement and said it in your own words. So keep these ideas in mind. You're going to develop your own thesis for your essay about Sound of Running Feet and Chief Joseph. So you're going to need handout 18B, which is your evidence organizer for both Chief Joseph and Sound of Running Feet for the next part of the lesson. So grab those now. Do you have your handout 18B, one for each of the characters, ready? Great. The next step will be to review your evidence organizers with a couple of questions in mind. One is, what important beliefs do Chief Joseph and Sound of Running Feet share? and the other is in what ways do their beliefs and values differ. You've already begun to sort through your evidence with hashtags similar and hashtag different. And you also probably have some very helpful notes from discussions with your classroom teacher. And if so, pull those out now. You can review those as well.
Let's review and let's look at some things and write down, as she had said, or Miss Foley had said, about writing down things that might be similar or different. So let's review. We have our Evidence 18B, Evidence Elaboration Guide for Chief Joseph and Sound Running Feet, and the first one is Values and Beliefs that Guide Chief Joseph. So we have Chief Joseph, who talked to General Howard about moving to La Poille on page 16, and he said that there must not be blood. So this shows that he's a very kind man and that he cares about his tribe. Okay, and this one I would say really speaks to Chief Joseph, and so let's mark this one as something that might be a different thing. And not necessarily that Sound of Running Feet believes something different, but she, this is just a value that Chief Joseph has. Okay. Another thing that we look at is looking about the story about his name. So I have many names, but Thunder Rolling in the Mountains is the name that binds me forever. That's on page 15. So this we elaborated on, that this explains his values of the land and the nature. So he is part of the land kind of tells him who he is as well. And this was a big difference. And we know that also, speaking of valuing the land, actually that wouldn't be a big difference, because if we notice, that is a big part of what Sound of Running Feet believes in. So let's actually write an S next to that, similarities, because they both really believe the land is part of who they are. We have other quotes and evidence. Chief Joseph is talking to the tribe, and where they learn about that they have to move. Listen to me with your hearts, you have heard the sad news, on page 18. And this talks about how he values the lives of his people more than just the land. And this is probably one of the biggest differences that we get to. We also talk about that my father had said that they were beaten. Time had come to surrender, and he really wants to protect his family. So this was, again, the big difference. He'd rather protect the tribes and the people of his family so that so that they survive, and that's more important than land that can be rebuilt and redone. I will fight no more. This explains that he's done with war, and he wants to start healing. This here is a similarity and a difference, because we found out that they both do come to that point to where they need healing and that they want to be done, but it does happen at different parts of the story. Reviewing Sound of Running Feet, we have Sound of Running Feet that's describing her father. So she's describing that he's a gentle, kind man. This was her ability to say, well, this is what she believes. And he believes that he's probably a kind person, but she's very loyal, but not just to his family as well. Let's write that up here. He cares about, this might be a difference and a similarity, because he values that his tribe and his family. And Sound of Running Feet does value them as well. She thinks we will stop them. Here we stand on page 6. So she describes her feelings on the white people, and this is describing when that she's connected to the land. She believes that the whites are wrong, and that's where a lot of people were also thinking with Chief Joseph. Okay, so the land is super important. So she also believes that she's connected to the land. But we have a big difference to where she is more focused on the land. I don't remember what we had written here, but she is focused on the land. So Sound of Running Feet um, thinks they should fight for the land. And doesn't really think about the repercussions of people dying. They should die for the land is pretty much what she is thinking. Because that's where they grew up. That's where they lived. Okay. People can go to war for it. And that is our biggest difference. Then, when the chiefs are deciding if they should surrender, she said, I won't join them because she still thinks that she can fight against the white people. She thinks that she should continue on. And this is our biggest difference between her healing. Okay? She ran away. She talked about then that her finger fell from the trigger, the rifle slipped into the snow and did not pick up on page 126. This is her, I see some of my things that should have been up there. This is where they ended up going. So she needed to heal and stop. Okay, so this was our biggest difference with Chief Joseph because she wanted to stop and heal later on in the story than Chief Joseph. It wasn't until that she had lost more than her father. Her father had already lost everything. His wife, his land, his tribe, and she finally had lost everything, including her father, her land, her tribe, and her fiance, Swan Necklace. So this was where I said a similarity and difference because Chief Joseph also went through that, but it was at a different time of the story. So he wanted to be done with war and start healing earlier on after people started to die, and it wasn't until after she lost Swan Necklace and she had the ability to take that ultimate revenge and move on from that.
Have you reviewed your evidence organizers for similar and different beliefs and values? If you need more time, feel free to pause the video and finish doing so. Otherwise, you're ready to generate your 2 points. Next, I'd like for you to do a quick write in response to these questions in your journals. Number 1, what point do I want to make in my essay about a belief or value that Chief Joseph and Sound of Running Feet share? Also consider, how will I name this belief or value? Number 2, what point do I want to make about an important way their beliefs and values differ? And how will I name these different beliefs or values? The goal of this quick write is to help you organize your thinking around these questions and to get your ideas out. The goal is not to draft a perfect thesis in this exercise because you'll have opportunities to revise it. Pause the video and complete this quick write now in your journals.
I will post this in Schoology as my 2 points in my essay.
Okay, have you finished your quick write to come up with your 2 points? Did you decide how you wanted to name the characters' beliefs and values? If you need more time, feel free to pause the video and finish doing so. Otherwise, you're ready to now draft your thesis statement. All right, for this check for understanding, you are going to draft a thesis statement for focusing question task 5. Number 1, state an essential idea about Chief Joseph and Sound of Running Feet. Include the following points: 1 belief or value that they share, and 1 way their beliefs or values differ. And by the way, it's up to you to decide which order you want to put your points in. Either way is fine. You can write about the shared beliefs first or the differences first. You may also color code your thesis. If you want to color code the stem green and point 1 yellow and point blue 2, you may certainly do that. And you also may just write color-coded words if you wish. That is optional. All right, pause the video and draft a thesis statement in your journals.
This will be located again in Schoology, and I will title it Your Thesis Statement.
I hope it was interesting for you to take a look at all the evidence and elaboration you've collected to see what the key similarities and differences are in the beliefs and values of Chief Joseph and Sound of Running Feet. I am so excited that you're ready to develop your ideas about Chief Joseph and Sound of Running Feet into a longer essay. Thank you so much for your hard work. I know this takes a lot of pondering. I also know that your planning and your preparation will leave you feeling very proud of yourselves. Take care, and I look forward to seeing you soon.